Good Lord. Christ. That was trash. Utter trash. Now, I've seen a bit of rice fly out of a young man's nostrils today. And that game of football made me feel a little bit more sick, if I'm honest. It was more difficult to stomach. The quality of the game was absolutely horrific. And what's going to happen now is a lot of people are going to do huge tactical breakdowns. And I know that's what we do on the channel, right? But I've got to be honest with you. There are no screenshots in this video. This will be a rant video. And the questions will need to be answered by you. They'll have to be answered by you. Because there is something that needs answering here when it comes to Liverpool in terms of the overall title race. But what have we actually learnt from this game of football? There's certain elements that I think we have learnt on an individual basis. But how much do you chastise both teams in this? Who do you chastise? And what are the positives? Let's have a look. I'll give it a go. I don't really know what I can offer. What I can offer, actually, is the passing networks, which were interesting, to say the least, when it came to Man United, who were not concerned with having the ball. The way they set up in this game, of course, Evans and Varane, Delo on the right, Shaw on the left, Garnacho played, Rashford came on at the end. And what I will show you, actually, just quickly, wowee, the bench for Man United, I mean, it is woeful right now. And there was one player I sort of went to go, oh, if Liverpool got that player, that's the player they desperately needed in this game, and he wasn't there. And that player for me was Diogo Jota. Diogo Jota was exactly what Liverpool needed in this game, because Man United parked the bus. And you understand with the context of the 7-0 previously. Everyone thought they were going to get pumped. And this was kind of, not inevitable, but it was like one way or the other in terms of the swing. I thought Liverpool would win 3-0. They didn't. But why didn't they? And what does that mean about them as a title contender? Is that something that we kind of pick apart when it comes to this team? Or is it just one of those days? When it comes to the stats, actually, obviously the stats, you can twist them massively, but I can't be bothered. If you watch the game, sometimes you can leave the stats alone. I'm open to that. I know I use them a lot to sort of try and portray what I'm trying to get across, but I think they're lies, a lot of them. Today in particular, the expected goals. I did sort of have a look at Liverpool's general expected goals, and it is about 2. So they got 2.35 from this game. Could they have scored goals? Yeah, some moments where the decision-making, and I think throughout the game on both sides, the decision-making with the ball, and we'll run through the teams, was really bad, like outrageously bad. And so there's been a bit of a spin there from Klopp. I just watched his interview and I was like, what? Like he was sort of like really, really happy with everything apart from the result. And Liverpool fans, I think you can generally agree with me on this, that it was not good, right? It was not good football from Liverpool. They struggled to find their way through. As I say, look, the stats are there. 34 shots, but only 8 on target. That shows an inefficiency when it comes to that chance creation. 12 corner kicks. I thought it was going to be one of those ones where, a bit like, I think Rio Ferdinand did it to Liverpool, scored a late goal. I felt like Virgil van Dijk might get himself a goal at the end of it. But they were just poor, just really, really poor to a man. 2 players in particular I thought were absolutely awful for Liverpool, in particular in the first half. And those 2 players for me were Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai was all over the place in this one. And Salah was awful as well. So the way that Man United played, of course, they had Kobbie Mainoo, and Kobbie Mainoo was dealing with Gravenberch, or generally this central area, and they wanted to protect that zone 14 that we speak about very, very regularly. And obviously, Liverpool is scoring great goals recently at the moment, so they wanted to do that. Obviously, Fernandes out as well, and so many players out for Man United. And actually, to say for Man United, look, get a draw, get out, move on. It's not going to solve anything. It's not even really a plaster, but you've at least applied antiseptic to the wound. Should we say that? There are still questions for me on so much when it comes to Man United in terms of on the ball, but defensively they were diligent in their work. So let's talk about that. Antony played quite narrow. Núñez was dealing with Varane and Evans, and I thought Evans did a really great job on Darwin Núñez. I thought Darwin Núñez was poor overall, didn't really affect the game in any way, but didn't get a huge amount of service. Endo was looking to play on the front foot a lot of the time, and I think he felt he could do that because he wasn't really concerned about McTominay at all. Salah obviously looking to get the better of Shaw at times. Alexander-Arnold, who I thought was one of the few players that seemed calm and on the ball, and I could understand the change that was made to try and get him into more central areas to kind of give him the keys. I was wondering, again, you're sort of waiting for these narratives to arrive and you're thinking, is he going to take the game by the scruff of the neck and create something? And I thought, time and again, he was the one player who was able to play those balls through and more importantly, forward a lot of the time. But Szoboszlai all over the place, utterly all over the place for me. Konate utilised a lot, and I'll show you the passing networks again in a minute. And Diaz was an interesting one. Played quite narrow in the first half. And if I show you these passing networks, here we go. So this is Liverpool's passing network. And one thing for me I thought was a little bit missing was that because Amrabat was dealing with that left-hand side of Szoboszlai, Alexander-Arnold and Salah, and obviously they have those rotations. They have those rotations all the time. So I'm going to move from there. You can see on the left-hand side, there's not much going on in the middle, right? So you have on this side, Szoboszlai, Garnacho was coming back to help. Amrabat was trying to keep an eye on it. Salah, of course, was sure. And these guys, it all got a little bit congested. And on the other side, Diaz was actually playing a little bit narrower, but the idea was that Tsimikas, of course, can bomb on because they literally had no fear at all of Antony doing absolutely anything because even if he does get the ball, he's going to come back anyway. So they just weren't bothered. And that's, again, allowed Endo to sort of squeeze up as well. That's why they utterly dominated in that first half. And I mean, let's talk about Antony in a second. But what I would have liked to have seen was just that little bit more freedom for Diaz. I just think he's such a great player. And that's why I was saying it was a game for Jota. I would have loved to see Jota. I think it could have been one where you change it a bit more quickly and go to a sort of a 4-2-4. Even when what's his name, JaackMaate came on, he came on the right side. Didn't really work for me, and Jota would have been a really good one. But one thing I would like to see at times is that, okay, if they're able to stop this, especially with a double pivot. Now they offered absolutely nothing going forward, and there was that great counter press from Liverpool, which I think was fair for Klopp to say, but it's partly down to Man United having no options at all. Whenever Man United did have the ball, they just had, it was McTominay. You're hoping McTominay is going to be the guy that's going to sort of hold up the ball for you, or Højlund, who gave it his best, won a couple of fouls, but this is such a toothless front line right now. And to get to Man United, these two wingers, Garnacho is obviously a very talented player. And here's another question. Here's a question for the comments for Man United fans. Talk to me. Garnacho has got bullied in 2 games now. It's Liverpool, it's Bayern Munich. So fair enough, he's a young lad as well. But is he getting bullied because he's always going to get bullied? Or is he getting bullied because he's literally all on his own? And again, the identity isn't there. Go watch the video I did earlier in the week about the Bayern Munich game. All roads lead back to this lack of identity, lack of ability to do stuff with the ball. Not having Bruno Fernandes on the pitch was absolutely, so clearly seen in this game of football. It was so difficult for them to get out. But Antony and Garnacho, you can say what you want about Rashford. I mean, he can run at a player to a certain level of competency. Antony is the easiest thing you could defend against, I think. He's rubbish. Will he ever get to a point where he's good again? I did a video saying that he was going to be the next big thing, and we'd seen all the clips and I thought he was great. Whatever has gone on, and again, is it down to, no identity, no philosophy, no ability to sort of understand what the rest of the team's doing? Maybe. But on an individual basis, and these two got utterly bullied in this game and did very, very little, in my opinion. Amrabat looked heavy-legged throughout. I thought Mainu, I thought the game kind of passed him by a little bit as well. But as a collective, they worked very, very hard, made it difficult for Liverpool. But I think Liverpool didn't go and win that game. That's what's sort of taking it away from them, obviously. Someone like Endo, I thought, was one of those ones where you probably wanted someone just that next level up to sort of get them the ball and change it. Alexander-Arnold was the main threat for me when it came to Liverpool. And look, the 34 shots are there. And fine, feel free to hammer me in the comments about that if you would like to. But it was just a terrible game, wasn't it? It was crap. Utterly crap. Bad passes time and again. Thought Van Dijk was really, really good at the back. Becker stepped up, and Højlund had an amazing chance. He's got to take that. But again, it's one of those where he's so starved of chances in those big moments. If he's getting 3 or 4, we're not talking about that because he would have taken one of them. But he's got one chance, and that's the end of it. I did want to show you this because in terms of those average positions, I just thought this is just so stark. The fact that you've got Liverpool's there. Let's take that off. So this is in the first half. This is at full time. So you can see there's slightly more of a desire to pass the ball in the second half. They're able to do it a little bit more. But again, if we look at Liverpool's and how thick that is, how many passes they are making. And in the first half, Man United made less than 100 completed passes. And generally, a solid team will make about 200. That is, yes, good pressing, but 2, utterly rubbish. Just no idea of how do we keep the ball. And there were moments where, again, Amrabat could have the ball or Maino could have the ball. And if we're saying that these players are these ballers that we're talking about, you've got to be brave enough to give them the ball. It's just cowardly. It's just cowardly football. And it's just not going to get them anywhere. And that's why I say there's no plaster on this. Okay, you got out there with a draw. The confidence is rock bottom. It doesn't solve anything, in my opinion. And that's shown. This is at half time. So at half time, hang on, I'm clicking on the wrong things here. At half time, that was the passing network for Man United. What is that? What is that? I get it. You parked the bus, you wanted to draw. It's cool. That is just not solving anything, is it? But this game was horrific. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm sure you don't as well. When it comes to Liverpool, the big question for me is, do you just let this be? Or are there some clear concerns when it comes to this squad and this starting 11? I would like to see Harvey Elliott get involved a bit earlier as well. But look, everyone's struggling with injuries a little bit right now, but the inability to break down this team truly and get the goals is just one of those days. Or does it make you a little bit nervous about the title run in which you're in? You're in that title race. Let me know how you're feeling about it in the comments down below.